You know, it's funny, a slight change in the weather in this country and people go a little bit crazy. Us Brits are a quirky lot. A slight change in the weather and people go a little bit crazy and start to don a whole load of clothes that are probably not necessary. Some prime examples are walking towards me now, as you'll see behind me. When looking at parents, and in fact my wife was a good example of this morning. So my son was getting ready to go to school and my wife said, oh crikey, we still haven't bought him any school trousers. And I said, well, we probably don't need to yet, do we? And she said, well, this is a day when he could really do with his trousers. And I thought, no, it really isn't. And you know what? I think the real problem is that as soon as we created technical clothing, I think, like a lot of things in life, when it comes to the belief behind a certain product making your life easier, I think technical clothing, whilst it has a place, I think has changed psychology and it's changed our way of looking at the weather and how we deal with it and how we react to it. You know, just then, I'm sure one of those ladies had a down jacket on. It really isn't that cold. And it's not because I'm used to the cold either that I'm still walking around in my t-shirt and shorts. It's not that cold today. I would guess, I don't know, 12 degrees, something like that. So, I think what happens is that it's this conditioning that we have now in this country with regards to anything really. You know, temperature is the biggest one where I think we're so conditioned, you know, much like the whole eating 3 square meals a day, you know, that kind of conditioning. Largely this conditioning comes from marketing and the belief that we need a certain technical piece of clothing to keep us warm, to keep us cozy. Now, agreeably, unless you're Wim Hof, and by the way, if you come across this video and you don't know who he is, do check him out. He's a bit of a crazy dude who created something called the Wim Hof method, which is something that I employ on a daily basis. And it means that you embrace the cold effectively, along with some other elements. But so he's also known for doing a number of feats in the cold, such as climbing Mount Everest in his shorts. So unless you're him, agreeably, technical clothing would be a wise choice when reaching severe extreme temperatures. When it comes though to your child walking to school, you know, let's say it's a 15-minute walk, half an hour walk, whatever, even if it's an hour walk, unless the temperatures really are dropping close to that 0 mark, they don't need technical clothing. They don't need to be wrapped up warm. There is this, I think, misnomer that, you know, that your child will catch a cold or a flu because they've been spending time in the cold. No, what happens is they go out in the cold. When they feel like it's time to come in, they come in. And so long as they warm back up again, eat some good food, then they'll be fine, just as we are fine when we do that. But we've been conditioned by brands, by products, by companies that have created what are, let's face it, amazing products. You know, these things that, these pieces of clothing that we've created to endure extreme temperatures are amazing. You know, we are very clever human beings to be able to do that. But the problem is that, especially when it comes to trendy brands, people believe that they need these things. You know, the Canada Goose jacket. You know, on their own, they're lovely pieces of clothing, I'm sure. And yes, they'll absolutely keep you warm. But to start wearing them in the autumn, or you know, when temperatures are only just dropping below that of the summer period is silly. And most of the time, I think when people do that, they go for a walk. I see them quite a lot actually when I'm out dog walking. People quite often turn to me and say, yeah, actually, I think I've overdone it. I've overlayered today. Because you start walking and you start sweating with all this technical clothing, regardless of how breathable it is. So I think parents are quite possibly the worst for all this. Again, it's this conditioning around keeping little Johnny in a comfortable, enclosed, safe environment. You know, it does trip over beyond just wearing technical clothing, keeping your child warm. It trips over into whole other areas of risk and safety. You know, oh, Johnny, don't climb that tree. That looks a bit risky. You might fall. A bit like another video of mine, actually, that if you keep saying those messages, if you keep presenting those images to your child, then yeah, they're going to have accidents, they're going to fall, because you're creating templates in their brain. Don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself. Don't use the scissors, you're going to cut yourself. Don't climb the tree, you'll fall out of it. Don't swim in that bit of the river, it's deeper than the other bit, you might drown. And it's because we are conditioned, but we're also consumed by anxiety nowadays, aren't we? You know, I include myself, because there are moments, obviously, when I'm anxious, but I have tools, luckily, to be able to deal with it, and those tools are in my YouTube channel. Do check them out. So I think the message is this: let's give you a little challenge, because I know those that might watch my channel that hail from Russia or Poland, countries that are used to the cold, that embrace the cold. They would likely laugh at many of the conditioned human thinking that we have in the UK. And I suppose part of the problem in the UK is that we have extreme changes in our weather, but they're not that extreme at either end, usually, to warrant a change in your thinking, a severe change in your thinking to do with the clothing that you're wearing or how you manage that temperature control. So the challenge is this. I'm assuming some of you watching this might be one of those persons. They've got a nice, plentiful wardrobe full of technical clothing. And some of you may have made that choice today. And there will be parents out there as well that have ever so slightly worried about their child because of the change in temperature. And therefore they've wrapped them up warm. So my challenge is this. Tomorrow, let's say the temperature's the same. Let's say it's the, I don't know if it is, but let's say it is. Try, if you can, just to remove 1 or 2 layers and not worry so much about your child. It's a bit like in this country when it rains. Your child was going to go out to the park and play, and then it starts to spit, a little bit of rain. Nothing significant, not a downpour, but a little bit of spit. Well, don't forget your coat, it's raining outside. You know, it's this anxiety-fueled message that we need to protect ourselves from the weather. I think we all need to remind ourselves we don't live in Alaska. So anyway, Evolution of Dave signing off. I hope that message resonates. I hope it wakes some people up. And a good way of waking yourself up, obviously, once you've challenged yourself to remove a few layers, is go and do the Wim Hof method. If you don't know what it is, go and check it out. Look at my other videos. Anyway, Evolution of Dave signing off. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.